This is Smarter San Diego TV.
Here is what they don't want you to know.
Owning a home is the cornerstone of any good financial plan or retirement strategy. I mean, that's the real reason we buy real estate.
You've got to be smarter if you want to be successful. That's what this show is for.
This is going to blow your mind. You're going to share this with everyone you know.
I guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else.
If you do nothing else in your lifetime to save for retirement other than own your home free and clear, you're going to be okay.
And now, here's your host, Derek Evans.
Welcome to Smarter San Diego TV. This is the place right here where you get smarter, and it's all commercial free. This week's show, jam-packed as usual with fantastic guests, as we'll first speak with Jacob Morrison, filmmaker of the documentary about the drought in California. He'll give us the inside scoop on what he learned while making the film. Then we'll speak with Sean Cahan, a real estate investor and mortgage professional, to get his take on interest rates and whether or not it's a good time to invest in real estate. Then we'll chat with Tony Manilatos, the spokesman for Mayor Faulconer's campaign, who has also been involved in the Charger Stadium discussions. He'll give us all the latest details. Next, we'll speak with Scott and Christina Harms. They'll tell us exactly what you should be doing if you have an underfunded retirement. And finally, we'll talk with Big Daddy himself, Bryan Garrity, to check in on the metro market and see what's on tap for Big Daddy Radio. It's all coming up next, right here on Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. Our next guest is the filmmaker of a soon-to-be-released documentary called River's End, California's latest water war. Please welcome to the show, Jacob Morrison. Jacob, how you doing, man?
Good, thanks for having me.
So you're producing a documentary about the drought in California. That's got to be a really interesting experience.
Mm-hmm.
I know from personal experience myself in trying to find people to talk about the drought, there's a lot of people who have a lot of good information, but they're afraid to come talk about it. Mm-hmm. So you're the perfect person for us to chat with today about the drought in California. My first question is, based on the people you've been talking to, the stuff you've been shooting, how bad is it really? I think a lot of people think it's terrible. Some people think, it's no big deal. This has happened before. On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is the drought?
Well, on a scale from 1 to 10, unfortunately, I think I would have to say it's a 10.
10? It's as bad as it could be.
I think it's as bad as it can be. And I think people don't actually understand how bad it is. When you talk about drought actually has different meanings.
Okay.
And in one instance, drought can mean a lack of precipitation, so a lack of snow in the Sierras, which we're seeing right now.
Okay.
On the other hand, a drought can also be a lack of water based off of need, and we've actually been, in that sense, in a drought since the 70s, really because we've been mismanaging water very seriously. And today we're seeing lots of extinction. We're seeing the Delta smelt, which has been in the media a lot, but also Chinook salmon are going extinct, which affects lots of people's jobs. And we're also seeing communities right now with thousands of people without access to clean drinking water.
Communities that don't have access to water. In California?
In California.
Where?
So Porterville is one example. It's a small city, and basically they rely on groundwater for their water. So they don't get water from surface.
So well water?
Well water.
Okay.
And basically their wells have run dry. And a lot of that has to do with their own water use as well as surrounding water use of different agriculture, there's a golf course near there too that uses a lot of water. And simply there's too much demand for the water in the ground.
Wow. That's just an incredible situation to be in when you think about how much we need water, obviously, to make it. But let's be honest, California is mostly a desert. I mean, it's mostly a desert. So we've really brought water here. We've gone and we've sought water. I've seen some pictures online lately of different dams and stuff that, 3 years ago, this is what it looked like. Today, here's what it looks like. And it looks like there's nothing there. I mean, is it possible that this is so bad that it could cause major calamity in California?
Yeah, well, I think that right now, the way that we've been handling this drought has been based off of a short-term solution. We kind of tend to plan for the drought in these sort of 4-year cycles. And basically that doesn't lead to any sort of sustainable water management policy. And what we've been able to uncover in this film, which has been really amazing to me and really also sad and frightening, is that there really is no one out there in the government or in policy who's actively addressing a sustainable long-term water management system based off of what we've been learning from the different scientists and researchers that we've been speaking to about what would actually work. And right now we have a series of major extinctions occurring in the state of California. We're going to lose the Bay Delta area, which is sort of a signature ecosystem for California. Like, I think it's sort of an equivalent to the Everglades, of California.
We're going to lose it.
And we're going to lose it entirely if we don't do something about it. And the people that don't have water in this drought, it's the same people that didn't have water in the last drought. So I think that, I think if we don't, really act now, we're going to lose the California that we know today.
Wow, that's crazy. But it makes sense because water is so important. So what, you said you've been talking to scientists, people who have solutions. What needs to be done? I mean, can it still be fixed? And if so, what do we need to do?
Well, yeah, definitely. And I think one of the first things we need to do is look at the way that we dole out water. Right now, 80% of the water that's used is used by the agricultural sector, and 20% is used by the cities. But that 80 and 20% make up 50% of the overall water in California. The other 50% is reserved for the environment. But the way that we do it right now is we have what's called a minimum requirement for the environment. And that basically sets the environment up for failure because we're giving the least amount of water we possibly can to a system to have like sort of a minimum amount of success in that ecosystem, which just doesn't work, and I think that's why we're seeing extinction.
It can't flourish. There's no way for it to flourish.
Exactly. So the first thing we need to do is, instead of dealing with it in terms of a minimum, would be to try to come up with some sort of solution about really allowing the environment first to have as much water as it needs, and then figure out from that how much water we have. I think another thing we need to do is look at our water rights system. So right now there's certain people who have access to water and can use as much as they want, some people that are sort of next in line, and this is all based off of policy that predates the gold rush.
Wow.
And merges Anglo and Hispanic law. So it, basically we're dealing with the consequences of a 19th century infrastructure in a 21st century world.
Wow. Tell me about the economics here. One thing that doesn't make a lot of sense about water, and if you go to different countries, you can learn this really quickly. Water is very expensive in a lot of places. In fact, if you go to Prague or the Czech Republic, for example, water costs more than beer.
Right.
Okay, so, but we don't have that here. Water it's really cheap. I mean, even people have swimming pools and stuff like that. They can operate it, and it's not that expensive for them to do it. Is there a problem there? I mean, have we not correctly designed the economics behind the use of water with the cost to the average person?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think that essentially a lot of the way that water is sort of doled out is it's basically taxpayer subsidized. California, and a lot of other Western states to be sure, but California in general, has been very good at getting a lot of money and essentially funding these giant state water projects, which provide water to people where water isn't at a very low cost so that they can grow things that really don't make sense to grow probably in an arid desert. And that's not to say that there's anything inherently evil about growing almonds or other tree crops in a desert or alfalfa. But it should be based off of an economics that makes sense based off of water availability. I do think that if we saw the economics matching with the amount of water we had, it probably would do a lot to fix this problem.
Yeah, I think that's the solution, right there, at least in the short term. If we need to put a Band-Aid on it, for now, stop the bleeding, would be to say, okay, let's appropriately set up the cost structure so that people who don't really want to have a swimming pool, they won't run one. They won't waste that water. People who don't really want to spend all that money watering and having a natural lawn will just get one of the drought-friendly, water-friendly lawns that you can get now here in California, which really everybody should have, frankly. This film, when will it be available for people to see?
So we're still in the midst of production, and actually, if you go online, our website's riversendfilm.com. You can follow our progress, and we've put up a blog so you can sort of see stories that we've uncovered and interviews that we're having with people. And the film probably will be released sometime in March. It's hard to know for sure right now since we're still in the process.
Sure.
But yeah, we're very excited about it.
What's the one thing that sticks out to you so far? I know you're still in the process of production. What's the one thing that you've learned or the one interview that you had, what's the one thing that really sticks out about the process so far to you?
Well, I guess I would just reiterate that when I began to decide to do this project, I thought, there really isn't a good documentary about the drought out there, and there isn't a good documentary about water in California out there. And initially that was just shocking because, what a huge topic.
Right.
But then as we began to dive into this project, we just couldn't believe what we were learning, and it almost is the kind of thing that you just couldn't make up. Like if I were to tell you that these sort of giant agribusiness corporations were lobbying and were influencing, our sort of most important politicians in California to create law that really is benefiting certain interests in the privatization of water rather than the good of the state or the good of the environment, I think it would just sort of sound fake. It would sound like some political thriller that I've come up with. And yet this is, what we've sort of found ourselves in. And I kind of just, again, am still in disbelief that this movie hasn't been made yet. But I do think, as you pointed out in the beginning, lots of people are afraid to talk about it. And I think that's also why this film is important to get done.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for being the guy to step up and make this film. Jacob Morrison, really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free. Our next guest is a good friend of mine, a big real estate investor here in San Diego, and one of the best mortgage professionals in town. Please welcome to the show, my good buddy Sean Cahan is here. Sean, how you doing, man?
I'm doing awesome. How are you?
Hey, great to have you, brother. A lot of stuff going on in the mortgage world, the real estate world. It seems like the market's still on fire. Is that your perception from the mortgage side of things?
Yeah, absolutely. Home prices are still really steady right now. Interest rates are really historical low, even though we've kind of heard that terminology for the past like 3 or 4 years. It's still historically low. So
yeah, well, anytime you have 4% anything, that's a historically low rate because it's never happened until 5 or 6 years ago for the first time.
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
Or you have to go back like 60 years the last time they were there. You're also a big investor, so we'll talk about real estate today and that side of things. I really want to pick your brain on that and kind of where your head's at right now from an investment perspective. But I'm also curious about the changes now, the TRID.
Yes.
Which a lot of consumers don't know about this change in the process. A lot of people in the industry don't know about how this is going to affect things, but I know that you have become an expert on this. Tell me, what are the highlights of what TRID is doing to the real estate transactional process?
I think TRID is it's an amazing document that's coming out. It's replacing the HUD. It's getting rid of the HUD, getting rid of the GFE, and also getting rid of the TIL. And it's combining them into one nice, easy-to-read form. It's also really good for the consumer and also really good for the mortgage professional because I think that a lot of the time the difference between the TIL and then we look at a HUD or we look at a GFE depending on, and so they all kind of are created by different individuals, and so then there always can be inaccuracies. And so somebody will say, like a consumer will say, hey, we need, what are my cash to close? And they'll be looking at a HUD. Well, the HUD is created by escrow. And so if they, go back to the GFE, that could actually be different because the GFE shows total settlement charges. Does not mean you're responsible for it. Does not show credits unless you actually put it in box A. So it's just like little things like that where it's kind of like saying, hey, we're out. We're going to get rid of these really confusing forms. We're all going to put it down. And to be honest, now the mortgage company or the lender or the brokerage is actually the one who gets to create the TRID, so they get all of the fees, and so their numbers are the most accurate numbers.
Wow. So that's huge. If you're getting rid of the GFE and the TIL, the Truth in Lending Statement, and the HUD, that's like
Yes.
you're ripping all of the heart of the documents out, and they're replacing it. You think this is a good thing. So
Amazing.
It's amazing.
Yes.
So they did a good job in revamping this stuff. I was afraid that whenever the government goes in and says, "Oh, we're going to create new documents," usually they just add on to it. But in this case, they actually took stuff away and put in something that is going to work well. Here's the thing that really sticks out to me about what you just said, is that the lender gets to basically control the calculations.
Correct.
Control the numbers to know how much cash someone needs to bring to close when they're buying a home. A lot of homeowners don't think about this. It's just one of the little things that adds up in the pile of stress that can be buying a home if you go through a rocky process or you're working with people who don't know what they're doing. Oh, how much does a check need to be? I got to get a cashier's check. Well, it's $22,621. Oh, nope, actually it's $24,700. It's like,
Exactly.
Man, you got to get these things right. So now what you're telling me, it sounds as if that won't happen anymore.
No, it will not happen, or it shouldn't happen at least, because the loan estimates are going to be being sent out from the lender, and then the closing disclosure is actually the last one that gets sent out, and that's supposed to be done, and then the consumer has 3 days from actually receiving that document before the loan docs can be drawn. So it really does give them time to kind of settle down, realize what they've seen, realize that they're making the decision, because once you do kind of technically sign, we want to move forward to close. And so we're kind of getting away, and almost the TRID is kind of table funding, wet funding type of deal also. So it's more of, hey, here's the final numbers, they cannot change. But there is one big difference between institutional bank, credit unions, and mortgage lenders or direct lenders like ourselves, is that they say that you have to resend out a closing disclosure and wait the 3 days. If there's any changes to any of the numbers, TRID actually says in their guidelines that it's actually only 1/8 of a point. So it still follows that same guideline. So you can extend it out and not have to wait the 3 days if it doesn't move more than 1/8 on the APR.
I'm glad you brought that up, because the real concern in the industry that I've heard is that TRID is going to establish a new timeline, is going to make transactions take much, much longer. Is that what you think is going to happen?
I mean, it is going to take much, much longer if you're working with an institutional bank or a credit union, because they're taking their closing disclosure called the CD, and they're actually going to be sticking it in the mail. And then they're going to wait 6 days from them sticking it in the mail before they can place the loan in line for docs.
Wow. And for a purchase transaction, I just can't imagine. I mean, there's so many moving parts. Daily interest that has to be calculated and all those things. I mean,
Nothing can be changed.
I mean, how are you going to get it right? That's so crazy. Well, I mean, I'm surprised that they created something that's bad for the institutional banks, but hey, it's good for you. It's good for people, mortgage professionals who know what they're doing, who've studied this stuff, and who have set up a process to help people execute using the new rules. So
absolutely.
I'm glad to hear it's a good thing. Really am. Let's talk about investing. Is that cool?
Love it.
So you own a lot of properties. You're always looking to buy properties.
Yes.
In San Diego especially. We've joked on the radio before about how you've missed all the years in Ohio and Michigan and Oklahoma and all the $20,000 houses out there. But you stayed right here in Southern California.
I did.
And that's worked out really well so far. And what do you think right now as far as investing is concerned? Is the market too high? Are the deals gone from this cycle?
I mean, it's like a vast majority of every single deal being a wonderful and perfect deal. Yes, it's gone. But if you're working with the proper people, if you're working with the proper numbers, you do have the down payment. You do kind of look at it like, okay, how am I going to value add to the property? So if you're just trying to take a property, put down 20% and cash flow at, one-to-one basis, it's not going to work.
Okay, that's not out there.
It's not there. But
so what is there then?
Value added.
So that's improving the property.
Yeah, adding, bedroom, 2 bedrooms, really remodeling the property and to bring it up to code where I think code should be today.
Mm-hmm. So that's finding a 2-bedroom house and making it a 3-bedroom house.
3-bedroom, 2-bath, really upgrading it too, changing, taking out. A lot of investors do it reverse, okay? They take it and they try to do as minimum as they possibly can, and then they get the middle of the road or try to get for the higher rent, but their place still is not that great of a place, and so then they get the middle of the road. They try to make little tweaks that kind of break down in like 2 or 3 months, and then they try to rent it, and then come down the road. Now their places, they don't spend the money on the termites. They don't spend money on the actual upgrades. It's like they just put lipstick on it and call it a day, and that stuff breaks down.
Yeah, it does. It does, and you can tell. I can tell.
Absolutely.
When I walk into one of those properties, it's really, really obvious when you have 50-year-old windows and brand new, Formica.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
It's like something's not right here in this house. I think this is a flip. But what do you think about the buy and hold strategy, at least at this point? Because what you're talking about is flipping, right? You're talking about
buying and holding.
You're talking about buying and holding.
Yeah, buying and holding. Like, if you expect to buy it and it to work, it doesn't work today. Like, buy it, remodel it, long-term it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you're talking about going and completely changing the property, really investing into it, not just the down payment, but investing in the renovation, and then getting the top rent dollar.
Correct.
And keeping it. Very interesting. So that's where you're at right now.
Yes. Trying to buy a lot more if anyone's watching.
If there are any good deals out there, and if someone's got an ugly house for sale,
I will create a good deal.
He'll make a good deal out of it, this guy.
Or I'll try.
Here's what I think we should talk about for the average person out there is, how should they look at their home? Should they look at their primary residence as an investment, Sean? I mean, this is something you work with people every day who are going through this. Should they think of the home that they're buying to live in as an investment?
Absolutely, yeah. And don't strip all the equity out of it. I mean, it has to be a place where you actually need to live, right? And actually have to enjoy it. So I want you to live there, enjoy it, but I need you to look at it as an investment as well. You can not all investments are meant to be kept also. So I think a lot of the time individuals will look at their primary residence and say, well, I'm going to rent this out, and I'm going to go buy another primary residence, or we're going to take cash out of this place. Well, you bought it as a primary residence. You never did a rent schedule on it. Don't keep it. It's not a rental. It's more of an emotional purchase. So I think a lot of people make that mistake, and they go, oh, I'm breaking even. Are you really breaking even? I mean, you have vacancies, you have repairs, if you're keeping it up properly.
Yeah, you got to factor all that stuff
But
in.
you definitely need to look at it as an investment. I think a lot of people just get emotionally attached, and they get in the market and I need, instead of actually sitting down and realizing what they're purchasing.
Yeah, fantastic advice from one of the best mortgage professionals here in San Diego, Sean Cahan. If you missed his TRID event, Industry Professionals, give him a shout. He can give you a special link to catch all the details about what's going on with TRID. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free. Our next guest is the spokesman for the Mayor's Stadium Advisory Group, Tony Manilatis. Tony, how you doing, man?
Good, Derek. How are you?
Did I get the name right finally?
You did.
It's great to have you here. Everybody wants to talk to you, and they should, because Chargers, Stadium, it's the talk of the town. What's going on? What's the latest?
Well, it looks like the Chargers are trying to run out the clock here on San Diego. And,
Really?
Yeah, unfortunately. They're not going to come back to this negotiating table because they're not interested in a San Diego solution while LA is in play.
Okay, and why is that? I mean, is it a money thing? Is that what it is?
Absolutely. You know,
Okay.
the mayor and Supervisor Roberts and the city attorney and the mayor's advisory group, all these folks have shown that there is a path to a new stadium in San Diego. Here it is. Here's how you would pay for it. Here's the environmental impact report. And the Chargers are turning their backs on all that because there's more money to be made in Los Angeles.
Okay, well, I can understand that. And this is kind of that stark reminder that sports is about business at the end of the day, right? It's not really about loyalty and fans and stuff like that. It's really not. At the end of the day, it's about profit.
Even fantasy football, right, is about money.
Yeah, true.
You know,
That's true.
you want to win because you want to bring home the Benjamins.
Exactly.
So yeah, unfortunately, sports is a business, and that's really frustrating especially for fans. But it is a business, and the Chargers can make a lot more money. They believe in LA. I think that we're talking about, do you want to make many more millions in San Diego in a brand new stadium, or do you want to make many more millions on many more millions in LA? Where you're competing, though, more than likely, you're going to be competing with another NFL team.
Yep.
You're going to be competing with USC, UCLA, the Dodgers, the Los Angeles Lakers. Look, the fine folks in LA are just like you and I. They got $100 in their pocket that they spend on sports entertainment, and for years and years they've been spending 50% of that on the Dodgers and the Lakers. Do you think they're going to dip into that 50% to buy a Chargers ticket? I don't know. I mean, I think the Chargers would be the smart move. Is you own this area. This is a wonderful, wonderful region. We don't just draw from San Diego. We draw from 9-10 million people when you look at Baja and Imperial Valley. So I think,
If it were you, you think the best decision
Yeah.
would be to stay in San Diego.
absolutely. You own this market.
No competition.
No competition.
No football competition really at all. I mean, SDSU, but I mean, they don't draw. I mean,
Right.
So that's true. I never thought about it that way. You really have a lot to compete with up in LA. There's more people.
There is more people, but there is a lot more going on in LA.
Right. There's a
So-
stigma too attached with like LA doesn't really like San Diego, and it started a long time ago,
Absolutely.
but you have baseball, the Padres and the Dodgers rivalry, very strong rivalry. I don't think LA would welcome the Chargers with open arms.
Well, I think there's folks up in LA that want football back. I think the Chargers are banking on the fact that, hey, we're only going to be 100 miles away. We can keep our San Diego fans.
Ooh,
But
I hope that's not what they're banking on.
I think you made an excellent point. We're raised and brought up and sort of nurtured in San Diego to hate LA.
Absolutely.
When you're at a Padres game and the Dodgers are in town, you're chanting, beat LA, hate LA.
Yeah.
So I don't know that the fine folks in San Diego are going to be making the trek. That's a 3-hour drive, too, to get up to a ball game on a Sunday.
Not
when your
happening.
wife's like, yeah, we got to go to church, and then we're going to take kids to the beach. And, yeah, you're not driving up to LA,
No. You might watch the game on TV.
Right.
And that's as far as it's going to go. Right. Is the problem, does it have to do with attendance, Tony? I mean, is that part of the reason why the Chargers are so interested in going somewhere else where they think they can sell it? I mean, is that what it boils down to? Because I know we're always having blackouts here, and I always wondered what the long-term economic implications of that would be. Does that have something to do with this?
Well, I think if the Chargers won, and if you win, people come to watch the game. If they were consistently winning, if they did a better job marketing the team to this mega region and not just San Diego, I think you could sell. You could have a lot more sellouts. I think they're interested in the corporate wealth up there, the folks who would buy the suites and the big corporate packages. I think that is one of the big draws. So, some folks in San Diego believe that, well, geez, if the mayor and everyone just focused on the Chargers want to be downtown, they don't want to be in Mission Valley. No, that's a red herring. Okay. If you allow me a minute.
Please.
Okay, so the Mission Valley site, which the city owns, has
Qualcomm.
166 acres. So it's like Disney World, okay?
It's huge.
The site downtown, the city doesn't own. They'd have to cobble it together. It would take years to piece all that together. You'd have to move an MTS bus yard, so that would take a while. You'd have to do the environmental cleanup where the MTS bus yard is. And it would be like Disneyland. There would be very, very little parking down there. People would bleed off and go to East Village to get dinner and get beers. So do you want to be in Disneyland where folks are running around and spending their money not on your property? Or do you want to be on Disney World where you capture all that parking revenue, you capture all the concessions? There's land there for the NFL and the Chargers to spin off some entertainment venues. You want to be in Disney World.
Yeah.
There's more money.
Yeah.
So when you hear them say, oh, well, our preference is downtown, first of all, that's not what they told the mayor and the advisory group. They told us that they were site agnostic, that they'd be comfortable with a workable plan at either location. So when you hear them say that, no, our preference is downtown, that's a red herring. That's an effort, again, to convince the NFL that we just can't get a workable deal done here in San Diego.
So do they need to convince the NFL
They
in order
do.
to be able to move?
They do. Fortunately, this decision isn't made by Mr. Spanos or any one person. All 32 NFL owners, have a vote, and you need 24 of the 32 owners to vote for the move. So,
Is there any polling that's been done on that?
On those 32 owners?
Yeah. Do you have any idea where they stand?
well, I think
That would be a crucial piece of information.
it
right?
would be, yeah. I think San Diego's done a wonderful job. With the mayor and Supervisor Roberts, the city attorney Goldsmith, I think they've really put together a wonderful path to a new stadium. And those owners are smart guys. They're paying attention to what's going on.
Sure.
They're businessmen. They want LA to work. They don't. The NFL's had trouble in LA.
That's true.
So, we've heard Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, say he likes the Inglewood Stan Kroenke package for LA because Stan, the owner of the Rams, has very deep pockets. He's one of the wealthiest owners in the league. Whatever they do in LA, they want to make it work. They want to put an owner there that's got deep pockets that can really make Los Angeles work. So probably the Chargers' best shot at LA is being the number 2 team, being a tenant in Inglewood. So do they want to be a tenant in Inglewood, or do they want to own this 9 million, mega region?
Yeah. So that's what it pretty much boils down to. Is the Rams in Inglewood,
Probably.
the Chargers in Carson.
But that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
No, I think Carson
would be
was, LA. Carson surfaced so they could have some type of leverage. The Chargers Carson was never going to happen.
Never going to happen.
No.
Wow.
No.
Wow, they really made that look like it was the
Oh,
real deal.
absolutely.
They did a good job.
That was a good leverage play.
Yeah, that's
You give 'em-
smart.
You give them credit. But
That's
when you,
big boy negotiating right there, Tony.
huge. But when you're
Wow.
going up against Stan Kroenke in Inglewood,
True.
you got to develop something like Carson, right? Because Stan Kroenke has more money than God, and his
Yeah.
wife has more money than him.
That's true. That's Walmart money, man.
Yeah. So they needed to do something
Yeah.
to compete with that.
That's crazy. So, what is the plan? For people who don't know, what would the plan be if the Chargers were to stay in San Diego? Just tear up Qualcomm and start from scratch?
Right. The plan that the mayor has put forward would be on the existing site, the Qualcomm site, and you would level the old and glorious. It's not Lambeau Field,
Right.
but it's been around a long time. Some good memories there. You would level that, and you'd build a smaller stadium, so you probably wouldn't have as many trouble selling out games. But it would have a lot more amenities. It'd be state of the art, and it wouldn't just be for the Chargers. It would be for the Aztecs, the bowl games. It would be a venue for corporate events. It would be a venue that could host.
Super Bowl?
It could host a Super Bowl. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. But weekend rodeos. In Dallas, AT&T Stadium that they built recently for the Cowboys, Jerry Jones, one of their like huge money makers are these 3-day rodeo events that they have there.
Huh.
So these stadiums, the way they're building them now, they're able to. Before they used to be dogs, but the way some of these stadiums are being built in the innovative solutions that they're putting in to generate revenue, they're starting to make some money. So
Tony, let's stay optimistic for a second.
Sure.
Let's say the Chargers are going to stay. What is needed to put the new stadium package together? Are the people going to have to vote on something? And if they do, what are they going to be voting on?
the mayor has committed to a public vote.
Okay.
So more than likely, if the Chargers decide that they want to stay in San Diego, that's a big if. The LA equation needs to be. But you said to stay positive.
I want to stay positive for a second. Let's say the Chargers are going to stay. What are the next steps to make that happen?
So they'd have to return to the negotiating table. Mm-hmm. They'd have to hammer out the agreements to a deal, and then they would put that to a vote. And the residents of San Diego would weigh in. And the mayor has always said that there won't be a tax increase,
okay,
and that if it's a good deal, that San Diego voters would support it. And that's another reason why Mission Valley works out so well, that the city already owns the land.
Yeah, that's huge. That's a really, really important aspect of this thing. I want to get one more thing from you, Tony.
Yeah.
Because I appreciate your time today very much, and I know you're a busy man. What are the chances? Give me a percentage that the San Diego Chargers are here next year.
I think it's 50-50.
50-50 right now? Flip a coin.
50-50. I do. Some folks believe that they already have a deal worked out to be the number 2 team in Inglewood with Stan Kroenke. I don't know that that's the case. One of two things happened. They either have a deal worked out because they haven't treated San Diego well these last few months, or they decided, We need to go all in because Stan Kroenke is going to own LA and we don't want to be left out of that. So we need to go all in. We need to develop something. We need to do everything we can to keep him out of LA. Once that's resolved, once the LA situation is resolved, I think then there'll be a return to focus on San Diego, and they're going to have to decide, did they want to be the number 2 team in LA? And you wouldn't even be number 2. We talked about the Dodgers
Like
and
number
the
5,
Lakers.
yeah.
Yeah. Or do you want to be here in a brand new stadium making many millions more? It's a tough decision.
Yeah, it's really tough. Sounds pretty obvious to me. Appreciate your time, Tony. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me on, Derek.
Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free. Our next guests are the Smarter San Diego Reverse Mortgage Specialist team, the Harms team, Scott and Christina Harms. Welcome to the show, guys.
Morning, Derek.
Morning,
Hey,
thank you.
Great to have you. Now, there's a really important thing going on right now in the world of retirement funding, okay? And a lot of people have underfunded retirement accounts. In other words, they don't have enough money saved for retirement. The reverse mortgage is something that could potentially be the solution for that, right, Scott?
Really true, Derek. As a lot of our clients are turning 62, they found that their pensions, IRAs, 401ks, plus Social Security are not quite enough to get them to a comfortable retirement lifestyle.
Right.
Most financial planners say that Social Security will make up about 40% of the average wage earner's post-retirement income.
40%.
40%.
Okay.
They're going to need about 70% of their pre-retirement income in order to retire comfortably.
Okay.
So the average wage earner is going to have about a 30% shortfall. So they're going to be looking to their other investments, their IRAs, 401ks, pensions, to make up that difference. One of the assets that a lot of homeowners haven't looked at is the equity in their home,
right,
to help make up that shortfall. And that's what a reverse mortgage can do.
Which is really interesting because I think originally, we go way back to when people were buying houses for the first time, when you could first own your own property and you got a loan from the bank and you went and you bought a house and you made payments and eventually you owned the thing free and clear. And that was a good portion of your retirement. In fact, that's the number one thing I recommend people do. If you don't do anything else, make sure you own your home free and clear, because then you'll be okay. Then you'll have options like a reverse mortgage to come in if you didn't save enough money otherwise. But once you get to that point where you've got a house that's paid off, a lot of people think, well, I got to keep the house paid off, right? That was the thing. I need to keep it paid off, otherwise I'll have to make a payment to somebody. But that's not how a reverse mortgage works, is it?
Not at all. In fact, the reverse mortgage was created in 1988 by an act of Congress, signed into law by President Reagan, really to make up for the shortfall from Social Security. Because when Social Security was enacted in 1935, the average life expectancy was 58 years old.
58?
58.
Okay, so and Social Security doesn't kick in until 62.
Correct.
So the original idea behind Social Security was, in case you outkick the coverage and outlive the life expectancy, we've got some money here for you, because you probably won't be able to work at that point in time.
That's exactly right.
You got people working until their 70s, 80s now? No
Well,
problem.
that's exactly right. I mean, my life expectancy for my age is 83. So I better have at least 21 years, 21 years cushion built up. Now, Social Security is somewhat flexible in that you can take it at 62, at 66, or you have to take it at 70. Okay. But full retirement age is 66. At your full retirement age, you get to take 100% of your benefits.
Okay.
But you can take them early at 62, but you pay a penalty for that. For each year prior to full retirement age, you take your benefits, there's a 6% reduction in benefits. So if you take your benefits at 62, you're taking a 24% deduction.
And that's permanent, right?
Permanent, long term. But now if you can actually wait till you're 70, 4 years after full retirement age, for each year you wait, your benefits increase by 8%.
That's huge.
So that's a 32% increase in what your permanent Social Security benefits will be. So what we find is a lot of our clients that have, say, 40% or more equity in their home can use a reverse mortgage to supplement their monthly income to delay taking Social Security.
I see.
And if they wait from the time they're 62 till they're 70, that is a 54% increase in what their Social Security benefits will be.
That's so big. It's huge. Now you say getting paid through the reverse mortgage, so I'm going to get Christina involved here. Tell us about some of these options, because how do you get paid from a reverse mortgage?
Well, it's really the equity in your home. So it's proceeds, and it's equity that you've already paid into your home. So you can get it immediately as a lump sum. You can get the money right now. And a lot of our clients do that maybe if they want to pay off a car, pay off some credit, minimize some of that outgoing cash every month. The first way that a reverse mortgage is always used is to pay off your current mortgage if you have one. People with a small mortgage pay that off first. Then they have options to use the money in various ways, maybe to get a little extra income every month. You can do that like we talked about for delaying Social Security.
So I don't have to take all the money at once then. Basically I can, if I want to get a reverse mortgage, should say I have to pay off my mortgages first, whichever mortgage I have, if I have one.
If you have one, yes.
I have to pay those off first. But then what's left over, I can take every month instead of taking it all at once?
Absolutely. And we can kind of do a mix and match, whatever is really right for you. Say you want to buy a new car. So you take maybe $30,000, get that new car now, but then you do want the additional income. So every month you're going to maybe receive $1,000 and you're not going to have a mortgage payment anymore. So that really increases your cash flow, and you already got some of the upfront money.
So let me ask you this then. So if I have, let's say, $100,000 available that I could take out all at once, but I choose to get it every month. Am I going to get it for 100 months then? Because I'm going to get $1,000 a month for 100 months, and then it's over. Is that how it works?
Well, it's really going to depend on your age at the time we're looking at it, and how much equity you have, and what your goals are. So that's going to come up with a formula. If you're going to take a 10-year payment, which is an equal monthly payment for as long as you live in the home, then that's going to be one thing. If you want to delay Social Security and you're telling me, I'm 62 now and I want to wait till I'm 70 to take Social Security, so figure out how much monthly you can give me. We can do a term for 8 years, and I can give you this much monthly just for 8 years, and then stop it once you want to take Social Security.
Wow.
One of the benefits of that is that then Social Security is no longer tied to if you live in the home.
That's huge.
Reverse mortgage, you do have to live in the home to get these monthly payments. So
Right.
It's a really smart strategy overall.
So it sounds like it's very flexible then, as far as what's possible, based around the needs of the individual and how they're trying to structure funding their retirement.
Really flexible, and you can change your mind over time, in that you could start by saying, I want a 10-year payment. And again, that's Tenure, 10-year payment.
Not a 10-year payment.
Not a 10-year payment. And that's, again, as Christina said, calculated on your age and equity in the home. And you could be taking that payment, say it calculated out to $1,300 a month for the first 8 years, from 62 to 70. Then when Social Security kicks in, you could quit taking that altogether, and whatever the available balance is on your reverse mortgage, that balance grows by the note rate. So each year you don't take additional money on the reverse mortgage, the balance available to you gets bigger.
Interesting.
And
so that's huge, because there are a lot of people who might say, you know what, I think I have enough. I think we've got enough saved up here. But who knows? I mean, a lot of people are living to be 100 plus years old, right? So if you have the opportunity to put aside something, even if you're not taking money out right now, but if you have the opportunity to get one of these credit lines established so that you can have it grow and have something there just in case, and it doesn't really cost you anything to have it accrue over time, right?
It doesn't. In fact, the credit line is going to grow, and the credit line will grow faster than what the money would be available to you if you just waited to be older, because the amount you can get is calculated on your age, but it grows faster as a credit line than it does because of your age at point of entry. Okay?
Gotcha.
And this credit line is great for what's called a standby reverse mortgage, and this is used a lot by financial planners, in that for borrowers that don't really feel like they actually need it, they get the standby reverse mortgage, which the available balance to them gets bigger every year, and then they do portfolio management with it. In down years in the market, instead of pulling money out of the market, they pull money against their reverse mortgage credit line. In up years, they actually are pulling money from their investment portfolio and paying down the reverse mortgage.
That is absolutely brilliant.
It can triple the life of an investment portfolio for a retiree. And one of the things we have found is that many retirees fear running out of money more than they fear dying.
Yeah. Well, this is an amazing opportunity for people who are 62 years or older if you own your own home. Scott and Christina, thank you so much for being here today and explaining to us the reverse mortgage details.
Thank you.
If it's the case that you have questions about reverse mortgages, call Scott and Christina Harms. They will shoot you straight. They'll tell you what you can do to potentially save an underfunded retirement or just live more comfortably in your golden years. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. The metro area of San Diego has been absolutely booming for the past few years. Whether you own a home or rent, it's become one of the most expensive places to live in all of San Diego County. But the question is, can it continue at this pace for much longer? Our next guest is our Smarter San Diego real estate expert for this area. He's also a good friend of mine and the host of one of the most popular radio shows in all of San Diego. Please welcome Big Daddy himself from Big Daddy Radio. Bryan Garrity is here. Bryan, how you doing, man?
Great. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic,
Yay,
sir.
I'm
Yes,
here.
here he
I love
is.
it.
Here he is. All right.
Making San Diego smarter.
That's right.
And everybody else. What the heck? Let's make it a global thing.
Let's do that. You've been doing that on your radio show now for several years.
We try.
Gosh, you guys are just killing it. It's amazing what you're doing over there.
We try to have fun and entertain and give information.
You do all that.
Yeah, although the entertainment part's the most fun.
That is the fun part, right? We're going to talk about your show and what's kind of coming up or what topics have been big here in a second. What's really interesting to me, metro market, it's a big market. There's a lot of different areas there.
Right.
But there isn't a single one of them that's been slow or, it's been very, very hot in the whole area. Why is that? I mean, what's causing that over there?
There is low supply, number one. And it's, you have the people that these areas are being gentrified, which if you, like when I moved to San Diego in the 80s, dating myself, and you were to drive through, let's say, Hillcrest or North Park, I mean, it was like ghetto, or be considered, Hillcrest was like the gay ghetto. Oh yeah, it was nothing.
In the 80s?
Nothing, 85, 86. Like where Uptown District is, which is a very booming part of Hillcrest right now, was just a Sears and a huge parking lot, and it had the bars and nothing like it is today. But people have wanted to move out from the suburbs back into the city, which is causing kind of this expansion of the metro area, and it's become more desirable. We've cleaned it up. Like, look at what we've done downtown in just a matter of 20 plus years. We've made it spectacular.
Yeah.
Other cities following our lead. Not that we were the total forefront person in doing that, but we were one of the first cities to go through and really clean up our downtown and make it habitable, which, it hadn't been for years.
Right.
I mean, it was the last place most people wanted to live, and it was the place most people were working. So now that it's cleaned up, you have a lot of people coming in from the suburbs and saying, hey, I don't want this commute. You got a lot of the millennials or younger people that are wanting to be more green, and they don't want to, be driving long commutes, and they don't want to be stuck out in the suburbs.
Is it that they want to be green, or that they're just day drinking and they don't want to drive home?
You got a point. I don't know. You can be green.
There's like a bar on every corner. It seems like ridiculous. A brewery, I should say, not a bar, but an actual brewery.
Well, and in some metro area, if you look in like North Park, for whatever reason, every new thing that opens seems to be a brewery, like we're talking about.
Yeah.
So you've got this desire of, you're close to work. A lot of people work from home now. So what better place to be than in the metro area? You can walk out your front door. They have something called the walk score, or the walkable score, that you can get off websites, et cetera, based on the areas you want to live. Most of them are high in the metro area because you can walk to and access stores, restaurants, entertainment. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. And it does encompass a big area. But right now we're down to this is the part that always makes me crazy. You hear realtors talking at blah, blah, blah about statistics, and it's like, at the end of the day, you're going to sell the house or not, period. Or you're going to get these people in the house or not. People don't want to hear that there's 1.8% to 3% vacancy. What does that mean? Really, when you think about it, what does it mean? I'm a buyer, and I have some agents spewing that at me, and it's like, okay, can you get me a house or not? At the end of the day, there's more important things that people should be worrying about.
Right.
And we'll go into that in other segments. I think we should.
Yeah.
About listing agreements and who you hire and how you hire and, what you're entitled to or not, et cetera.
Yeah, I should mention that you went to law school.
I did.
You are a JD, a Juris Doctorate.
I am.
So you passed law school. You actually
Much more
practiced law
fun.
for
I
a
was
while.
in the 90s.
Yeah. So I mean, we're talking about agreements and things like that. I mean, that's something that you're very well versed in and part of your background and your education. And so, this area, this metro area, you said something earlier that was really interesting. I'd never thought of before. Is it feeding off downtown? In other words, is the revitalization of downtown really been part of what's helped the metro area?
Absolutely. I 100% believe that. And anyone that would challenge that, I'd say then show me different. But I'm telling you, I think that it's just enough. If you say especially all the people that are working downtown, to be in the metro area, it's just literally like poof, far enough that you're out of the downtown area if you want to be. Or there's the people that want to live and work and play and be downtown. I mean, that's a part of the metro area that's completely revitalized. I'm talking more about single family homes in like University Heights, Normal Heights, Kensington, Hillcrest, North Park. I mean, average purchase price is already up to like $504,000. I mean, it's above the median purchase price for the county. So it's not cheap if you want to live there.
Right.
And the sustainability of it, I mean, at this point, there's not a lot of places to build. I mean, if you're going to tear down some of these old houses maybe and build up, that's really the only way you're going to be able to go. There's not a lot of vacant land in the metro area.
I was just going to ask you that. Is there anywhere,
There's
for
places,
new construction?
but I mean, you figure with the new construction, it's limited. It's not like it's tracts of, that you can get up in like North County or some of these inland areas in Carlsbad, places that have room left to develop. I mean, we're peaked out in the metro area. So low on inventory means if you want to live there, you find a place that you like and everything checks out, you hop on it.
Yeah.
You don't sit on the fence because it's just too popular. And for me, yes, the cycle, history is going to repeat itself. Are we going to have what we had in 07 or 08? No. That was just, in our lifetime, that was an exception. I mean, the implosion that we had.
Right.
But historically, the real estate market cycles every 7 to 10 years. So, going on statistics. But I mean, at some point, there's going to have to be a downward slope where it becomes more of a buyer's market. Some agents will say, oh, it's becoming more of a buyer's market. I don't think so. I think it's still a strong seller's market. A little bit of softening in some areas needed to be softened. However, it didn't change the fact that it was so softened that it became a buyer's market. It hasn't shifted. The paradigm's not shifted up.
Okay, so it's still a seller's market, just not as
is.
much of a seller's market
Right.
maybe as it was a year ago, let's say.
Exactly.
Now, what you said about construction is really interesting because if there aren't those big plots of land, then the big builders aren't going to be interested.
No, not really.
And therefore, it's you kind of hit a wall once that takes place. Once you get to a point where it's like, okay, all we can do is build up this lot right here. We can either build a high-rise on it,
Right.
and that's it. There's a certain types of builders that do that stuff in San Diego, and for the most part, they're building downtown. So I don't know if it'll be in this lifetime that we see the metro area build up.
I agree. Like D.R. Horton has been a good builder in the metro area in both North Park and Hillcrest. Like they built the Atlas building. They use that space over on 5th. But again, they built up, but they're expensive condos because it's right in the middle of everywhere people want to be. And they also did a development at Level M in North Park. So they did that by buying up, parcels of land that were older or that had tear downs on it. There's just not many of those that exist. If you were to drive all through the areas, you're not going to find that.
No.
You may find a fourplex that's new. You may find, a couple townhomes, row homes that are new, but you're not going to find large, big
scale developments.
No, you're not.
So based on what you're saying then, my take is that the market's strong. It'll probably continue to be strong. But you do expect that we're at somewhat of a peak, at least a cyclical peak?
I think so. I mean, you're the income in terms of what people are making versus what people are paying is hitting a wall because the values are starting to outpace income. that's what people are earning. Once that happens, okay, now we're going to have a problem because we're going to hit this wall. Inventory's low, so we haven't felt it as much because there's still people that make enough to slide into these houses. But if our inventory was to rise or get bigger or there was more available, we may see it start then to soften. And historically it will at some point. I don't have that crystal ball, that magic number, year, or date, but at some point it will. But the metro area is always going to be desirable. It just is.
Too much going on.
There's a lot going on, and there continues to be a lot more gentrification. The next, I think, is like the Normal Heights area should be the next one that sees some more improvement and people starting to want to be there. Kensington has always been popular. University Heights, always popular. Hillcrest, with the redoing and gentrification, super popular to get it. I mean, even rentals talking about. Rentals are as bad as buying.
Yeah.
Now that's pretty historic that the rentals are this low in terms of availability and occupancy. Countywide, it's 4.2%. That's what the County Apartment Association says.
Wow.
And we were down in the metro area to like 2.2%, but the rents are what a lot of people are paying for their mortgage.
Right, and that's what starts to make it really a difficult situation. So great insight on the metro market, Mr. Garrity.
Thank you.
How about your radio show? What can we look forward to seeing coming up on the radio show in the near future?
We have lots of surprises coming.
Lots of surprises coming?
Well, actually, the show, it's had different incarnations, and it started off to be a real estate show. But, I mean, I don't mean that. Real estate's my day job that I love. I love it, totally. But I think for an hour every week, it's a fun, like, we can give a lot of real estate information, but to do that week after week after week, and there's hours before us that the people are talking about similar, the same things, it's just like, anyways, to be honest with you, but we tend to talk more about pop culture and entertainment and kind of fun stuff. We've had housewives on from that housewife chain, and hopefully when they have $1 Million Listing in San Diego, I'll be a cast member of that.
Nice.
So, yeah, right.
Well,
but we've had
a recommendation
people
for me in there.
All right, I like it. But we've had Heather from that show on there, and what we've turned it into now. It's a panel, kind of like a View or the Talk or the Chew or geez, they've got every name under the sun for these programs, and we've turned it into panel discussion. And so sometimes it gets a little bit heated. And got to watch out. I don't want to get in any trouble, drop anything not for terrestrial radio.
The bottom line.
I get excited.
The bottom line is, you never know what he's going to say next.
No,
Tune in and check him out. Big Daddy Radio, Bryan Garrity. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, great show, guys. That's a wrap. Jade, what's your schedule look like? Do you mind breaking down the set?
Not today, Derek. I'd love to, but there's waves out there. I gotta go. Angela? Nikki?
Yeah, I gotta go beat traffic. And I think Nikki's making something up there.
Look at this. We did this. We did all of this.